Celebrating as pausing from work and passing over into reflection upon the essential. Celebration means in the first instance interrupting our everyday activity and leaving work behind. This leaves us free for other things. For what? That is determined precisely by this celebrating itself, provided that all celebrating is not the merely negative act of ceasing work, but rather emerges from the strength of its own essence. If, however, celebrating remains only the cessation and interruption of work, then the break that arises must be determined from another source, not from celebration and through it, but only from a relation to work once more. Celebration is then, reckoned in terms of work, a means of relaxation and recovery. By way of entertainment, celebrations are then fundamentally in the service of work, ways of filling in breaks from work. Strictly speaking, however, celebration as the leaving behind of work, in fact, receives its manner of being solely from out of the original essence of celebrating. We of today are scarcely equal to this essence anymore, even though it indeed announces itself already in our routine celebrations. For celebrating as a pausing from work is indeed already a keeping to oneself. It is a taking note, a questioning, a reflecting, and a waiting, passing over into the more wakeful intimidation of wonder, namely of the wonder that a worlds around us at all, that being are not and not, rather nothing, that things are, and that we ourselves in their midst are, that we ourselves are, and yet scarcely know who we are, and scarcely know that we do not know all of this. As such pausing, celebrating thus already brings us to the threshold of reflection, and thereby into the neighborhood of that which is worthy of question, and thereby once again into a deciding line. For it can now happen that in pausing from work, we indeed come up empty, do not know what to do with ourselves, search for substitutes, and right away our times of celebration have inadvertently become opportunities to take flight from ourselves and occasions for intoxication. From the necessity of the unconditional priority of work, holidays, like work itself, then become either instituted or even abolished. Holidays are then institutions of human making. The essence of the holiday is in this way everywhere perverted into its opposite. Yet this corrupted essence of celebration only confirms its essence. For celebration is a becoming free from and relieved of the habitual through becoming free for the inhabitual of the day as the time of the festival, as distinct from night. The habitual here means the contexture of things and human beings that we constantly and proximately encounter, and which, as a consequence of a well-worn way of doing things, we no longer appropriate anew in their own essence each time. The everyday then stands at our disposal from the perspectives of its utility, and yet in its essence it has not been authentically appropriated by us. The own essence. The relation between thing and human beings becomes stultified in the routine.
Stultified.
The world that has not been appropriated, the inauthentic confirms, reinforces, and intensifies such habitualness. Things and human beings
Habity creatures.
of the everyday world do not necessarily have to have this trait of inauthenticity and of such habitualness, yet they do so for the most part. They have it especially when the authentic dimension of things and of human beings has become inaccessible. When the inhabitual is closed off, when knowledge of it has been lost and care concerning it extinguished, this begins to happen at the moment when we come to understand care now only as worry and distress, as the effort of doing business, and as the agitation of machinations, instead of recognizing that care is of another essence altogether, namely obedience to the preservation of a belonging to what is essential in all beings, that is, to what is authentic, which is always the inhabitual. The inhabitual, therefore, does not here mean the exception, the sensation, that which has never yet been there, but rather the contrary. The inhabitual is that which constantly prevails, that which is simple and authentic in the essence of beings, by virtue of which they maintain themselves within the measure of their essence and demand of human beings that they keep to such measure. The inhabitual can, therefore, appear and shine most purely within the habitual. Celebration is a becoming free from the merely habitual through becoming free for the inhabitual. Celebration is an attentive listening to what Aldebert Stifter names the gentle law, is awaiting the authentic, is preparing to appropriate what is essential, is waiting for the event in which the essential manifests itself. The celebration becomes more celebratory not by the intensification or expansion of organized functions, and not by inflated grandiosity and the noise that attends its staging. The celebration is more celebratory when it comes to await more attentively the authentic festival, to the degree that a day is more replete with awaiting in regard to the appearing of the essential. It is to the same degree also a holiday. The radiance of the essential within celebration, play and dance. To the festive there belongs radiance. Radiance, however, properly arises from the illumination and shining of the essential. Insofar as the essential radiates, every aspect of things and humans enters into the release of its radiance. And this radiance in turn demands of human beings adornment and ornamentation. The later one alone, however, never produces the radiance of celebration. The more festive the holiday that is, the more it awaits in the inhabitual in each case, the more all comportment is released from the habitual. The more released the comportment, the more vibrant and oscillating our stance. Yet, the release of the habitual into what is authentically inhabitual is not an unleashed frenzy, but rather a being bound to the essential and to the concealed enjoining and rule of beings. Being bound to the rule in free oscillation and unfolding, the wealth of free possibilities of what is rule-bound, stemming from such oscillation that is the essence of play. When the human being himself enters into play, into the composed unity of his figure, there rises the dance. To the radiance of celebration belong play and dance. The radiance of celebration, as the radiating of the essential, is not bound to the brightness of day. The celebration belonging to holiday can radiate through the night, which is to say, the holiday can not only last into the night, but can also illuminate the night itself from the radiance of celebration. Here we are thinking ahead to the end of the fourth stroke of the poem Remembrance. The poet tells of a sojourn where there gleam not through the night the holidays of the town, nor the music of streams, nor native dance. It is never through the fact that dance and play take place that holidays arise and are. Rather, where a genuine celebrating is granted, and this makes the day into a holiday. What is daily in such a day can swing into dance and play, thereby to maintain even in the habitual its lost radiance. The essential relation between festival and history, the bridal festival of humans and gods. Superficially reckoned, we may say that on holidays, festivals are celebrated. Here, for the most part, we understand the festival in the sense of an institution corresponding to a sequence of official functions that the human being brings about. For Hölderlin, however, the festival has its own concealed essence.